Welcome to this Digital Camera Magazine video tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to show you how to mimic the Top Gear style and effect for your car photography. So basically we're going to play around with the midtones, we're going to adjust the colours, we're going to apply vignetting, and then we're also going to apply a colours overlay just to get so you get that very stylistic image. So the first thing to do is we're going to adjust the midtones using an adjustment curves layer, and that's just going to bring out a few of the details and just set the tone for changing the colours within this image. So if we go over to our layers palette and we create ourselves a new adjustment layer and select curves, that'll bring up the curves dialog window, and all we're going to do here is just to increase the midtone highlights and just to pull in the mid-tone shadows as well. And you can see the picture has just lightened up slightly, and we've already got just a little bit more of a dramatic picture. You can also see a lot of the detail here in the windscreen here has also just been pulled out. So we're getting that reflection very similar to a polarizing filter. So if you just click OK, now the next thing is just to play around with the colors and the way that the colors work within the image. We're going to do this by creating a black fill layer and then changing that to hue and taking the opacity of that down to about 40%. So first of all, create your new layer. We go up to edit and down to fill. Make sure we use black and just click OK. Now in our layer blending, we select our mode and we change the blending mode to hue. And we can see we've now got a black and white image, and we're going to take the opacity right down to 40%. And you see that's muted the colours, but it's got again quite a dramatic effect. Now what we need to do is we're just going to flatten the image down. So if we just go make sure layer 1 selected, hold down shift and select our background layer and Control E just to flatten those layers down. And now we're going to convert into lab mode just to quickly do a little bit of sharpening to the picture. So we do this by going to Image, Mode, go Show All Options, select Lab Color, and that will convert over to the Lab Color workspace. Now we have to click on Channels and we select our Lightness channel. You'll see the picture go to black and white, and now Filter, Sharpen, and we're going to use Unsharp Mask and take the amount up to about 50%, and you can see the effect if I just click into the preview window that has. And we've got our radius also at 50 pixels. Click OK, and now we simply just make sure we've got lab clicked back on, image, mode, and back to our RGB color space. Click back onto your layers tab, and now we're going to create ourselves the gradient or color gradient overlay. So if we go down to our adjustment layers, select gradient, and that'll bring up our gradient fill. It's got the default, which is black through to transparent, and what we want to do is just reverse that. We obviously want the color overlay to start up in the sky and fall off down to the ground. And at the moment we have black as our color. We want to change this to a nice red. So if we just double click on the gradient, and that brings up the gradient editor. Now here it's best just to click new, so you'll create a new gradient, and we can now have a look at the gradient editor itself. So up here on the top left, if we click once, we see its opacity is 100%, and this refers to our black area, and you can see at the top no image information is coming through. The gradient at that point is 100%. If we click over onto the left hand or right hand side, and we can see our opacity is right down to 0. Underneath each of these we have our color markers, so we can see that the color on the transparent side is black. That's fine because it's set at 0. Over on the left hand side at the moment is also black, and what we do is we just click on the color tab and click into the color window, and we can actually change that to sort of a blood red color. When we click OK, we can now see the preview of our gradient has actually changed. So we've got red, over on the left hand side, going all the way through to transparent. At the moment that's actually gradienting through, but sort of here in the middle it's actually gradienting through from red through to black, and if we want that from red through to red transparent, we need to change the black option as well. So make sure you've got the black selector selected. Just click on color again, and we're going to take that to red as well, and you'll suddenly see the change in the picture. You're taking out the black from the image and you're replacing that with red. So if we just click OK, we've now got a transparency from red to red, red at 100%, red at 0%, and those graduated tones in the middle are just purely red. There's no black influence there. Once you're happy with that, just click OK and just OK the gradient fill layer as well. And we can now see how we've got that gradient coming through. At the moment at the top it's 100%. What we want to do is actually to blend that gradient layer in with the background. So if we just go to our layer blending modes and we turn that to overlay, and we can suddenly see the difference that that makes. We've now got that nice overlay gradient going on. If we now just click on our background layer, what we're going to do is introduce the vignetting effect. So go over to your elliptical marquee tool and just make sure you've got your ruler switched on. You can go Control or Apple R to switch those on and off. Go one click in, and what we're going to do is just draw a pretty standard elliptical marquee, just making sure that we're about equidistant from each of the edges. And once we've done that, just release your mouse so we've got our selection. And we now need to invert that, because at the moment we've got the middle of the screen selected, whereas we actually want to start adjusting the outside to apply that vignette. So go to Select, Inverse, Control Shift I, and that'll make your invert your selection. Make sure that you've got the background layer selected. Go up to Select and Modify, and then down to Feather, and this will just smooth the transition between the adjustment and the non-adjusted area. Here we've got a feather radius of 250, which is the maximum amount, but should create quite a nice even transition between the two. Once that's finished, just go Control L, and what we want to do is just to increase our midtones slider, and you can just see the effect, or the vignetting effect, going on there in the image. When you're happy with that, just click OK. I then go Control D just to deselect the image, and we've now got that quite nice sort of vignetting style going on. At the moment we still need to increase the polarization effect. Now there's a variety of techniques to do that, but within this image, because our car is quite dark and is black, one great way to do this, very easy, is to actually use the shadows and highlights filter, which has a fantastic effect for this type of picture. So if we go out to Image, Adjustments and Shadows and Highlights, and you'll see it instantly apply its default settings. And if you take a look at the car, you can almost see it looks almost liquid. It's got that really over polarized effect. And what we want to do is just reduce down our amount to about 40, and just our tonal width as well, just down just slightly as well. So we're almost just applying a little bit too much enhancement here, but we've got that sort of polarizing effect. You can really see the detail and reflection in the window screen and along the side panels of the car itself. So if we just click OK, and then finally what we need to do is just to flatten the image. So if we go up to our options in our layer palette and go flatten image, and then that'll flatten the image down. And there we have our Top Gear styled photograph.